Hello everyone, we are Group 5 and today we will talk about the climate communication. So this is our members Chris, Jason, Anwar, Kit, and Amanda. So let's begin. So what do you think about the climate communication? It's very simple. The definition is the social sort of relationship interact with each other within their relationship. Social tone defines and discusses romance, friendships, and family. Every relationship has its own communication climate. So, example, as we can say in our life, the social is very important, and the climate in which in each communication is very important. It will exactly what climate you choose to conversation to each other. That is very important. It helps the people understand what you are feeling, emotion, and what problem are in your life, and they will help you. Or sometimes they will recognize the climate you chooses, and they will accept what you talk about. So there are a lot of types of a relationship, the voice, the messenger, and the conversation. So the solution is to improve the relationship, make a relationship badly or better in some way, and we can choose the way what we want to. So for the next slide, this is the function. Build a rapport, make connect, influence. Get what you want in relationship, your career and your life. Show the react our feelings, agree or disagree with people. So as we start, this is the two type of the climate communication. The first one is a confirming and the second one is the disconfirming. So I will talk basically about the confirming and disconfirming definition. And the next member will talk detail about it each other. So we go first one to the confirming climate. So the confirming climate when we receive the message that demonstrate our value and worth from those with whom we have a relationship. So that means when you get some people or meet some people, they are very positive to answer your question, and they feel you are very important and you are the matter. Matter is mean like friends, long time no see, and that is very important in confirming climate. The message that convey valuing the positive, the supportive, and incorporative. That is the three adjective which can describe the confirming climate. So if when you for example when you meet some people and they're very happy to see you, that is the confirming climate. They're very positive, they're supportive what you're talking about, and they incorporate when you talk about some problem, they will help you, and they are very positive to talking with you to get your mood on, and they are supportive if you have the problem with that. So in confirming climate, there are just three level of the confirming climate. The first one is recognition. The second one is acknowledge, and the third one is endorsement. This is the three level in confirming climate, and the and our team will talk detail for each other. So this is for example, the man and the woman they meet outside for a long time, and the man says, "Hi, long time no see. Do you want to get a coffee?" The woman is very positive. She will say, "Oh hi, long time no see you again." Sure, why not? So the conversation is very clearly very 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 powerful and very positive. Each other supported together, and they can reach what they want to the conversation. So the next one is this conforming climate. The conforming climate is we receive the message that suggests we are developed and unimportant. The message sent to another that communicate they are not valued by sender. So this is like the action of they don't care about you, and they don't want to see you. Like I don't like it. I don't care about you. So even what you do or what you talk about, they will ignore that everything. They just do what they do, and they just you go away. The negative, the unsupportive, and uncorroborated is the three adjective can describe this this conforming climate. Negative and unsupportive is like they don't want to see you, they don't want to meet you, just go away. I don't care about you. And uncorporated, that mean they don't want to shake hand with you when we talk about something or the problem. Yeah, they just ignore that and go away. So there are 7 types of the this conforming climate. The first one is the interrupting response. Next one is impervious response, and then irrelevant response. The next one is tangential response, ambiguous response. Next is engorgeous response, and finally is impression response. There are the 7 types of a response, but the point of the 7 types is will ignore the action when you talk to another people. So our team will talk detail about this in the next page. For example, this is a man, the lady. So this is a man who is a fresh student, and this is people who's ready to graduate. So hi, I'm a fresh student. Can I? So even I even don't know you, just go away. That means the lady is ignored to conversation with this guy. So shut the impolite person. Yeah, because when you meet some people and you want to have a and you get a problem, you want some help, but the lady just ignore you. So the solution is if if I were the ladies, I will help him with what can I do for him. Yeah. So this is just the introducing of the climate communication. So next one is will on the next video.
Hello, my name is Jason, and you can call me Jelly. My part in group 5 is to discuss about my idea of importance of keeping a positive communication climate, a good or a positive communication climate. But first of all, I'm going to tell you about the definition of communication climate by my knowledge and, well, not my knowledge, but the knowledge I gained from Interplay by Adler and also Professor V's lecture videos. And the knowledge I gained about what the definition by my definition is, communication climate is moreover like general social tone in a relationship between individuals or individuals with groups or groups with individuals. The important thing is a social tone that is used in a regular basis. So yeah, let's get right to it. First thing is, by knowing confirming messages, we can know how important keeping a good or positive communication climate is. And the confirming messages that I've got from Interplay by Adler and also Professor V's lecture videos are three things: endorsement, acknowledgement, and also recognition. I put endorsement as first because to me, this is the most, I mean, the highest level and highest form of confirming messages. Endorsement actually means like they're appreciating someone or an all out support to a particular someone else that gave out an idea. So the idea is that, for example, you are appreciating their existence in the group, or you are appreciating what opinions, what ideas they're coming up with, and you value them, even though it's not the same idea that you agree with or you don't really like. The important is you don't really fully agree with it, but you still value it and you still support it. I got an example of this when I was in middle school. I was in middle school and the whole class is kind of silent because we don't really know each other. But one day a new student came in and everybody was not really excited because yeah, they were really shy. So we got into a group project a week later after the new student got like recognized and then like already used with the class and how the system of education is. This is back in my home country, which is Indonesia, by the way. Uh, I got him as my group leader, and the first time we didn't speak. The very first meeting of that group project, we nobody spoke, nobody spoke or a word or anything. We just do what the teacher wanted us to do, which is write notes first. And the next meeting, he came up for some reason. He just spoke out like he said it. I couldn't remember the very precise words of it, but he just said to all of us like, don't be afraid if your idea is wrong. Just give out your opinion, give out your ideas for the group, the group project, and we'll just reevaluate and rethink about whether or not that's a good idea. So it's like he's endorsing all of us to show us that, oh, as a group leader, I am appreciating your all of your ideas and all of your opinions on the matter. So don't be afraid to speak out. And if you don't agree on something, speak out. He was a really cool guy. To be honest, I didn't really remember the whole story because the process kind of sucked because it's a subject we are not that good at. But more or less, the outcome wasn't too bad. It was really good, and we became friends, and a lot of most of the members in the team became really close buddies and friends because of the group leader that really endorses. So the point is, endorsing is like just like what he said, is he didn't really care whether our ideas were correct or our opinions is like fully usable on that circumstance of the group, but he still care and value them and appreciate them and heard them out, which is kind of cool. The next one, I would say this one is lesser than, I mean, in the levels of confirming message, this is lesser than endorsement. I put this in second, which is acknowledgement. So the word meaning of acknowledgement is to show interest. I put a picture of um, a guy speaking to another guy, like showing interest. That's basically what the word is meaning. Like acknowledgement is acknowledging someone else out there. It's basically like listening. And this one, I would say, yeah, on the level, it's still below endorsement, but it is also important because it's basically listening and like trying to recognize the speaker's thoughts and feelings by listening. So this one is also important because look at a circumstance. If one day you're talking to someone that really needs your support or really needs your help, but the kind of support or help they are trying to like find is not the type of giving opinions or helping them in physical or anything kind of way. The type of support they wanted from you, it was the type of just listen. So I don't have really example on this one, but I have an example of, well, like an example, if you're talking to a friend, he's sharing you a personal story, he's sharing you a secret that, yeah, not like a secret, but it's like a personal story, personal problems or something like that. You felt like, oh wow, like wow, this is what the guy is feeling. And the other guy, if he is in search of a listening type of support, he would really appreciate that you are acknowledging him and showing that your interest. To show that your interest is basically just listening. Like we've learned the material about listening by Professor B's lecture videos, and it is also important to develop. It is listening is also a good thing to develop while developing a good or a positive communication climate. Because without listening, you're really not showing interest, and then he's feeling like, oh, and he's letting me down, or he's not showing any interest. Am I boring him or something? Which is why it's also important to learn why acknowledgement is going to lead to a better relationship or to develop a better communication climate. So the last one is recognition. Now, recognition is the basic and the most fundamental type of confirming messages because it's basically when you're talking to another person, you recognize the person. That's about it. It's nothing too big, but it is also important because this one is this one pops out the idea of whether or not you can relate to that person. If you recognize, oh, this is my best friend, of course you're going to talk a lot of things about him. But if this is a person or a friend in class you just met, you're going to be, what am I supposed to talk with him? What subject am I gonna like talk about with him? So it's the most fundamental type, and it's not really too high on the level of communication, confirming messages. But it is still also important because if you can determine whether or not you recognize the person, you could easily gain, I wouldn't say the upper hand, or what word am I looking at? You can easily gain words like not knowledge, ideas about what you're going to talk about, and that's going to give you a good way to develop a communication climate. So the conclusion of why is it important to the importance of keeping a good or a positive communication climate is everybody likes, well, not everybody, but if you ask your friends, your family, your significant other, or anybody you know, if you ask them what type of relationship, not just like romantic relationship, but any type of relationship like friendships or dating or anything, if you ask them, of course they will say that, oh wow, I really like the type of relationship that you can be easygoing with that person, like talking about your feelings, talking about personal stories or personal problems without too much trouble, like you can convey each other's message without any disruption or without any negativity. But that's not, I wouldn't say that's not possible, because I've seen some people that is manageable to do that to do those kinds of things, but by seeing people idolizing how they want their relationship to be, it's giving us like a thought for, oh yeah, it is important to keep a good or a positive, I mean, to develop, not to keep. If you keep, it means good job, you're already there, but if you're not there yet, you gotta develop a positive or a good communication climate with other people so you could easily build up a relationship. Like like those confirming messages, endorsement you get when you as a team member, sorry, not you, me, when I was in the team member of that group, and the leader was endorsing all of us, was appreciating all of us, I felt like, wow, I am being appreciated. Wow, I am a part of the team. And then let's just say you build up synergy. Then you build up synergy to help each other to accomplish the group work. And also the acknowledgement, you acknowledge each other, you try to figure out and you try to support each other by listening, you try to help each other out, even if you don't give out opinions, because some individuals really like to just have a conversation where the one is speaking, the other one is just listening, and recognition is recognizing the people and how you communicate with those certain people. And that's about it from my part. Thank you.
Bit. Hey, I'm going to talk a bit about the levels of confirmation and also what are the causes and effects of defensiveness. To refresh our memory a bit more about this chapter, I want to talk a bit about like I said, the levels of confirmation and also the causes and effects of defensiveness. And I want to say that, in my opinion, I would see this like as something positive. Um, like you're sending them a positive message to express and show how much you value other people's messages when they're trying to speak to you. So let's start off with the first slide. And the first concept I want to talk about is recognition. And recognition indicates the awareness of another person. So, for example, like when you're making eye contact or you're offering them a smile, that's a way of you indicating that you have recognition over them, you know? And it's sometimes not it can also be verbally, like telling them that you're glad to see them, or like or like when you're at work and, you know, a customer comes up to you and you're doing something and you try to be nice to them, so you tell them that you'll be right with them. That's a way of showing recognition. The next concept would also be acknowledgement. And acknowledgement is paying attention to the ideas and feelings of other people. So I think this is important because it's a strong way of you um, forming a way of confirmation, like telling them, for example, like if they're speaking to you, right? And they're trying to make a point on what they're trying to tell you. And the way you acknowledge them is you tell them that you agree with their opinions, or you agree with their point, and you understand why they feel that way. You show that you're acknowledging them, because they're expressing their ideas and their feelings. So the next concept I want to talk about is endorsement. And endorsement is you agree or support the other person. So I think this is also important because um, it shows that you supporting them and you're agreeing with what they're trying to tell you. So for example, when you verbally agree with the other person, you would say like they're right about that, or you give them compliments, um, either telling them that they did a nice job, or you praise them. So for example, I put here one of the best presentations I've seen this year. They're trying to give you a presentation and they're showing you their presentation, and you think they did a nice job, so you tell them that was one of the best presentations you've seen this year. And endorsement can also happen non-verbally. So like let's use the example of the presentation. They're trying to communicate with you, giving you their thoughts and ideas about that certain topic. So you also make eye contact with them, you're nodding, you're agreeing with them, and that will help them know that you're confirming the value of what they're trying to tell you. So you support them on what they're trying to tell you. Um, and just like all these concepts, there's also disagreeing messages. Yeah, disagreeing messages. And two of the concepts that I wrote were argumentative and complaining. And so for argumentativeness, we define this concept as presenting and defending positions on issues while opposing position taken by others. So it's like the way you can present your ideas will make differences, so you can maintain a positive climate while arguing. Um, Giving your opinions and being supportive and giving kind messages to them will show that you can agree with them, but in a respectful way, so it doesn't escalate to something bad. Um, so the other concept would be complaining, and I think this is something we all do. So complaining is, I put that it registers dissatisfaction, but this concept also is like disagreeing with the other person's message. And we use this, we use this when we don't agree with them. We're not trying to, uh, we try to say like, I'll give an example of myself. Like if I complain about something or I'm angry and like my partner is here with me, I use it as like not a way to fight, but it's just like I complain about everything, like why did you leave this on the floor, or like why didn't you pick up your trash or something like that, and that can create a big disagreement, and sometimes it can even like have negative behavior against it too. So it just shows like a disapproval towards something. Let me see. There's also disconfirming messages, and disconfirming messages, it can either be aggressiveness or ostracism. And for the first concept, it's like you attack another person's character, identity, or background. You start name calling them, you start yelling them, you start taunting them. That's a way for you to be aggressive towards them. And sometimes, like when you do that to a person, I think it lowers their self-esteem. And I think it can lead to depression too. So I don't, yeah, so that's a way of disconfirming message. The other one would be ostracism. I think that's how you say it. And it excludes interaction with others. So I think this happens usually like in a group, when you're trying to socialize with all of the people in your group, but they don't include you. So you feel, I think the word is excluded from them, and this has happened to me like in a work environment. I have felt that way. A couple years back, I used to be in a group, and it has this feeling where you want to be included in that group, and they're all talking about a certain thing, and they just don't count you in that group, so you feel like you don't belong. And I think this is a way of a disconfirming message. They don't include you, and it's not because of they, I don't know, it can be maybe because they don't like you, or they just don't want you to be in that group. um so the causes and effects of defensiveness, like defensiveness protects yourself from an attack. It's not physically, like, it's not physically, but it's more verbally. And sometimes disagreeing and disconfirming messages can make communication climate toxic. So being defensive will help you protect yourself from someone attacking you verbally. I think a mistake we tend to do is we try to portray this image about ourselves to the world, and we try to project ourselves different to each person we meet. And that sometimes brings us like problems, because sometimes they actually know what type of person you are, and um, that person tries to uh, confront you, in a certain way. So, like, for example, I put face threatening acts from others. So they try to give a message that we perceive as challenging because of an image we're trying to project. So, for example, like if a friend called you self-centered, or if he called you lazy, you would get offended or defensive, because you feel like that's not true, that's not true about yourself. So your response might be defensively, or you act selfishly because of that. And I don't know, I guess, well, that's those are the causes and effects of it. I have a video. I don't know if I can play it.
Hi. So this chapter also discusses how to create supportive climates for communication. So we'll be discussing the Gibb categories of defensive and supportive communication. So a few decades ago, the psychologist named Jacob Gibb isolated 6 behaviors that can cause defensiveness and provided 6 contrasting behaviors to reduce or kind of maintain a positive environment for communication. So first we have evaluation versus description. We have control versus problem orientation, strategy versus spontaneity, neutrality versus empathy, superiority versus equality, and we have certainty versus provisionalism. So for the first one, evaluation versus description, evaluation can come off as threatening because the receiver would feel like the sender is judging them in a negative way, and it also lacks a lot of specific details and observation. So for example, if someone were to say, "Oh, you don't care about me," it would come off as threatening since they haven't provided any context or specifics on why they feel that way. So the behavior to combat this would be description, where you focus on certain behaviors and you provide specific observations. You also use I language. So for example, instead of saying, you don't care about me, you would say, I feel as though we haven't been spending a lot of time together and it makes me feel unimportant. Next, we have control versus problem orientation. So for control, it can come off a little hostile because the sender is trying to impose one solution on the receiver, and the receiver would feel as though they don't have their best interests at heart, or their interests are being disregarded. So the behavior to combat this would be problem orientation, where both parties would focus on finding a solution together, and you would be using we language. So you would say like, oh, how can we solve this problem, instead of saying, oh, this is how it's going to go. Next, we have strategy versus spontaneity. So for strategy, it can come off as really dishonest and manipulative, since the speaker or the sender is hiding their ulterior motives. So they'd be asking questions or stating facts to basically lead you to giving them the answer that they want. So to combat this would be spontaneity, where the key would just to be honest about your motives, and usually that will create a more comfortable and supportive or healthy environment to communicate in. But of course, this could always be exploited because people would use honesty to gain your trust and to also use that to manipulate you. Next, we have neutrality versus empathy. So, of course, neutrality can be used in positive contexts, just maybe like in court cases, if you're on jury. But usually in personal conversations, neutrality could also be interpreted as indifference or a lack of concern. And it's also really impersonal. It makes the receiver feel like they're not important to you. So to combat this, you want to empathize with whoever you're speaking to, and this would also minimize their the potential threats to their self-concept. So just try putting yourself in their shoes. You don't really have to agree with what they're saying, but just try to put yourself in their shoes and understand where they're coming from. So next we have superiority versus equality. So for superiority, it can be really patronizing, especially when it's really prevalent or really obvious that you think you're superior, or if the sender thinks they're superior to the receiver. And it could also projects insecurity, since secure people, they treat others with equality. They don't really think they're better than others, even if they are. So next, we have certainty versus provisionalism. And certainty, again, it ties in with superiority because you're lacking regard for others and their solutions, as if you're superior to them. And of course, the receiver will react defensively, since they'll feel like they're being challenged. And some words that are commonly used when people are acting with certainty are can't, never, always, must, and have to. And it could be like, oh, this can't happen, like that'll never work. So to combat this, you would use provisionalism, where you're open-minded and you're open to others' ideas and opinions, which will create a more positive and healthy environment to communicate and share ideas with one another. And some words that are commonly used in provisionalism would be perhaps, maybe, possibly, might, and could. And you could say like, oh, perhaps this could happen. Maybe we could do this, or that could possibly work. And of course, if you haven't noticed, the underlying theme for all of these ideas or all of these behaviors would be respect. So you would need to respect the people you're speaking to and communicating with in order to have a healthy communication with them.
To finish off this chapter, I will be presenting about invitational communication. This type of communication is very welcoming and is very open for others to feel comfortable enough to explain how they feel in their own perspective. Invitational communication ensures one is not being pushed or pressured to have a certain point of view, and their ideas are always being communicated to an open mind. These communicators also make sure to not judge or push things that one believes in to keep respect and freedom to the other person. The ultimate goal is to create a climate that is supportive in all areas to help improve communication and its civility. Many harsh approaches of communication that were taught earlier, like gaslighting and cyberbullying, prove how they are very negative and non-civil climate of communication. Contrasting to this, many skills previously learned, like perception checking and responsive listening, all originated from the invitational side of interpersonal communication. These are all great steps to slowly improve one's climate communication to be the best it can be. Two helpful ways to begin putting invitational communication into action can be language of choice and response to criticism. Your language choices when communicating can be difficult to adjust unless your own language choice for yourself is up to par. Making sure you are using the correct pronouns with the correct words right after in your statements can help change the meaning and affect your communication. By changing your language, you can learn to be more invitational with your own language choice while communicating with others. For example, instead of saying, "you have to," you can use the phrase, "you're welcome to give a less harsh and restricting statement to someone. This suggests a less pressured tone, which lets people feel more free with their own decisions and ideas while they are communicating. Although it would be easier if everyone used invitational communication at all times, there are still some scenarios we run into where someone might negatively react towards you and how you're communicating. Although it can be difficult to keep civil, it is easier by not responding with an attack back. Trying to find out more information about what the person meant by the critique can help enlighten yourself on how to approach a situation in a better manner. Learning what the person meant by their attack can allow you to approach them in a more peaceful tone and help you understand why they did what and why they did it. Another approach is to agree with the critic. Even if it seems difficult, if the critic is telling the truth in some way, agreeing with them in a civil manner will help reduce the problem. Because the critic can be inevitably telling the truth, even if it is said in a rude way, agreeing with them in a simpler and friendly way can help them have a less negative tone to their communication. If you cannot find a way to agree with the critic on any level, then communicating with your own perception on the situation back to the critic in a peaceful and kind manner is another great resolution. This ensures civility, and although you may disagree with one another, you can have a respectful and invitational communication interaction. Overall, invitational communication is a great foundation to ensure you are communicating in a positive and inclusive way, and is what good climate communication is built upon.